Okay, get ready, because today we are going deep, deep into a world you probably never even knew existed. We're talking about viruses,
Viruses.
but not just any viruses.
Right.
We're going into the RNA virosphere, where researchers using AI have made a discovery.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Pretty crazy.
It's basically rewritten the virology textbooks.
Yeah, it's like realizing suddenly there's this whole hidden universe teeming with life, and we've only just begun to scratch the surface.
Exactly. Scientists have always suspected that there are way more viruses out there than we know about.
Oh, yeah.
But this new research blows all previous estimates out of the water. We're talking about a potential 160,000 new RNA virus species.
Wow.
To put that into perspective, we currently only know of about 3,000.
Right.
This is like looking up at the night sky and realizing there are millions more stars than you ever imagined.
It really is. And what's fascinating here is that this discovery wasn't just made by chance. It was the result of a powerful new AI tool called LucaProt. Researchers trained this AI on a massive amount of genetic data from all over the world, oceans, soil, even extreme environments like hot springs.
So this AI was basically on a global scavenger hunt for viruses.
Basically, yeah.
But how does an AI even find viruses?
Well, think of it this way. All viruses have these certain genetic signatures that make them unique,
Okay,
like a fingerprint.
got it.
And LucaProt was trained to specifically look for the genetic fingerprints of RNA viruses,
Yeah.
particularly a key enzyme they need to survive and replicate.
So it's like the AI was searching for this specific molecular clue
Yeah,
that screams RNA virus.
exactly.
And it found a lot of them.
It found a lot.
But how did the researchers make sure that the AI wasn't just making things up?
That's where the real detective work comes in. They didn't just rely on the AI's findings. They went back and did a bunch of experiments to confirm that these were truly RNA viruses.
So they double-checked the AI's work the old-fashioned way
Yes,
in the lab.
exactly. They took 50 environmental samples
Okay.
and did both DNA and RNA sequencing on them.
Right.
Remember, RNA viruses have RNA as their genetic material, while other organisms like bacteria have DNA.
Right.
So if these were truly RNA viruses, they should only show up in the RNA sequencing results.
And drum roll, please.
Uh-huh.
Did they? They did. The results perfectly matched what the AI had predicted,
Oh, wow.
confirming that these were indeed bona fide RNA viruses.
Okay, so we've established that these are real RNA viruses.
Yes.
But what can you tell us about them? Were they similar to the ones that we already know?
Here's where it gets really interesting. Some of these viruses were surprisingly large. One found in soil was almost 50,000 nucleotides long,
Wow.
which makes it one of the longest RNA viruses ever identified. And when they looked closer at the genes, they found something really unexpected.
Let me guess. They were completely alien. Nothing like we'd ever seen before. Well, not exactly. They did find some new genes that didn't match anything in the databases,
Okay.
but many of them were actually similar to genes found in other viruses. The difference was how they were put together.
Okay, so the genes themselves weren't totally new,
Right.
but the way they were arranged was unique.
Precisely. It's like they were playing with a genetic Lego set, mixing and matching genes from different viruses to create these new combinations. We call this modular evolution, and it suggests that viruses might be swapping genes more often than we thought.
So it's not just about the number of new viruses they found. It's also about this whole new understanding of how viruses evolve and adapt. But I'm still stuck on this number, over 150,000 new species. That's just mind-blowing. This isn't just a scientific discovery. It's a complete paradigm shift.
Absolutely. It means that we have vastly underestimated the role that viruses play in the world.
Yeah.
And it opens up all these exciting new avenues for research and everything from disease prevention to understanding the evolution of life itself.
So where do we even begin to unpack all of this? What are some of the key takeaways for someone trying to grasp the significance of these findings?
I think there are a few key things to keep in mind. First, this study demonstrates the power of AI in scientific discovery.
Right.
We're on the cusp of a new era where AI can help us unlock secrets that were previously hidden from view.
Yep.
Second, it highlights the incredible diversity of RNA viruses.
Yeah.
We've only just begun to explore this vast hidden world, and who knows what we'll find next.
And it all started with a super smart AI scanning the planet for those telltale viral fingerprints.
Yeah.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty. Tell me more about this phylogenetic diversity. What does that even mean, and what did they find?
Well, think of phylogenetic diversity like a giant family tree for all living things.
Okay.
It shows how different species are related to each other and how they evolved over time.
So, like, A family reunion, but for viruses.
Exactly. And what this study found is that the RNA virus family tree is much bigger and more complex than we ever imagined. It's like finding out you have a whole bunch of distant cousins that you never knew existed.
So they're not just adding more branches to the existing tree.
Right.
They're discovering whole new sections of the forest.
That's a great way to put it. For example, some groups of RNA viruses that we thought were small and isolated turned out to be much larger and more diverse than we ever realized. It's like we were looking at a blurry picture before, and now we have this high-definition image that reveals all these hidden connections.
Okay, so the family tree of RNA viruses just got a major upgrade.
It did.
But what about their ecological diversity? Where did they find all these new viruses?
That's another remarkable aspect of this study.
Yeah.
They analyzed genetic data from all kinds of environments, oceans, soil, fresh water, even extreme environments like hot springs and those deep sea vents that spew superheated water.
Wow.
And they found RNA viruses pretty much everywhere they looked.
So it's not like they were concentrated in just a few hotspots. They were truly widespread.
Yes, which tells us that viruses are incredibly adaptable. They've evolved to survive in all sorts of conditions, even those that we might consider extreme.
It makes you wonder, what can't viruses do?
Right, but it's not like every environment had the same kinds of viruses.
Okay.
They found the highest diversity of RNA viruses in places with lots of organic matter and microbial activity, like forests and wetlands.
That makes sense. More microbes means more potential hosts for the viruses, right?
Exactly. But even in those extreme environments, they found evidence of RNA viruses suggesting that viruses are even more adaptable than we previously thought.
Okay, so we've covered phylogenetic diversity, the family tree,
Right.
and ecological diversity where they live.
Yes.
But what about the viruses themselves? Did they find any viruses that could infect animals like us?
They did find some.
No.
But here's the surprising part.
Okay.
Most of the new viruses they found were actually concentrated in aquatic and sediment samples. They found comparatively fewer new viruses in the samples collected from animals.
That is surprising. You'd think that's where we'd find the most new discoveries.
Given all the focus on viruses that can infect humans and other animals.
It's counterintuitive, but it suggests that there's still a vast unexplored diversity of RNA viruses out there in the microbial world. And who knows what role those viruses play in those ecosystems. It's a huge area for future research.
It's like we've been so focused on the viruses we can see that we've overlooked this whole other universe of viruses that are quietly shaping the world around us.
Exactly. And this brings us to another fascinating aspect of this research.
Okay.
The discovery of RNA viruses that infect bacteria.
Wait, RNA viruses can infect bacteria? I thought they mainly infected eukaryotic organisms like plants and animals.
That's what scientists used to think.
Right.
But in recent years, there's been growing evidence that RNA viruses are also infecting bacteria.
Okay.
And this study provides even more support for that idea. They found intriguing evidence of this genetic Lego phenomenon we talked about, where some of the new RNA viruses had genes that are typically found in viruses that infect bacteria. So these RNA viruses have basically borrowed tools from the bacterial virus world to expand their host range.
Precisely. And this raises some big questions about the evolutionary history of viruses. Did RNA viruses first evolve in bacteria and then jump to eukaryotes? Or did it happen the other way around?
It's like trying to trace the origins of a family that's been around for billions of years.
Right.
But it's a question that scientists are now eager to explore, and it speaks to the incredible power of this research.
Yes.
It's not just about discovering new viruses, it's about challenging our fundamental understanding of how life on Earth has evolved. Okay, so we've talked about the diversity of these new RNA viruses, their potential to infect bacteria, and even the implications for our understanding of evolution. But what about the practical side of things? What does this all mean for human health? Could any of these new viruses pose a threat to us?
That's always a concern when we discover new viruses, but it's important to remember that most viruses are not pathogenic to humans.
Right.
In fact, many viruses are beneficial, playing important roles in regulating populations of other organisms.
So it's not all doom and gloom.
No.
It's more like a reminder that we're part of this complex web of life.
Yeah.
And viruses are key players in that web.
Exactly. And this research actually opens up some exciting possibilities for harnessing the power of viruses for good.
Oh, okay.
For instance, there's phage therapy,
Yeah.
which uses viruses that infect bacteria to treat bacterial infections.
So instead of using antibiotics, we could use viruses to fight bacterial infections. That sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
It might sound futuristic, but it's actually a very old idea that's gaining renewed interest,
Hmm,
especially as antibiotic resistance becomes a bigger problem.
right?
Phage therapy could offer a powerful new tool in our arsenal.
And it's not just about fighting infections.
Right.
I've also heard about using viruses to deliver gene therapies.
That's another incredibly promising area of research.
Oh.
Scientists are exploring ways to use viruses as delivery vehicles to carry therapeutic genes into cells.
Oh.
It's like hijacking the virus's natural ability to insert its genes into a host cell
Right.
and using it to deliver beneficial genes instead.
So we could potentially use viruses to treat genetic diseases
Yes.
or even cancer.
That's the hope. Of course, there are still challenges to overcome,
Right.
but the potential is enormous.
This deep dive has been a wild ride.
It has.
I feel like my whole understanding of viruses has been flipped on its head.
Yeah.
They're not just these tiny agents of disease.
Yeah.
They're this incredibly diverse and powerful force that's been shaping life on Earth for billions of years.
And we're only just beginning to appreciate the true scope of their influence.
Yeah.
This study using AI has given us a glimpse into this hidden world that was previously invisible to us.
Right.
It's a reminder that there's still so much out there to discover and that science is always evolving.
Well said. And for our listeners who want to dive deeper into this research, we'll be sure to include a link to the scientific paper in the show notes. It's called Using Artificial Intelligence to Document the Hidden RNA Virosphere.
Yes.
And it was published in the journal Cell.
Yep.
Be sure to check it out if you want to explore the nitty-gritty details of this amazing discovery.
It's definitely a fascinating read.
So as we wrap up our journey into the hidden RNA virosphere,
Yes.
I have to ask, what was the most mind-blowing thing you learned from this research? What really stuck with you?
For me, it was the realization that we're living in a world saturated with viruses.
Wow.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
In every environment. And they've been shaping the evolution of life since the very beginning. It's both humbling and inspiring to think about the vastness and complexity of the virosphere.
It really makes you appreciate how much we still don't know about the world around us.
It does.
It's like we've just opened a door to a whole new universe.
Yeah,
And who knows what wonders await us on the other side.
exactly. And that's what makes science so exciting.
Yeah.
There's always something new to discover, always another mystery to unravel.
Well said. A huge thank you to our expert for joining us on this incredible journey.
Thank you.
It's been a privilege to learn from your insights.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the hidden RNA virosphere.
Yes.
We hope you found it as fascinating and mind-blowing as we did. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never stop learning.